We're all probably familiar with the famous words of 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about, seeking whom he may devour. It was Alan Pinkerton, the famous Pinkerton Detective Agency, who borrowed the statement and adjusted it a little bit, that eternal vigilance is the price of safety. Someone else had applied it to liberty, but he used it as a warning to banks and other institutions that they must always be vigilant because danger was afoot. And this is certainly true not only of the people of God in general, but especially of our children and our grandchildren, the little ones. And I had a situation today, and it just reminded me again that there's danger afoot. And I remember when our children were young that some of them were speaking quite boldly about the Lord Jesus in school. And the teachers were concerned about this, and they asked if Louise, I was away at the time, if Louise would come and speak with them about this matter, because they were finding it difficult that our children were witnessing to their friends about the Lord. And so Louise arrived, and she had with her a large folder, and they sat down, and they said, now, we believe in the separation of church and state, and we don't want religious activity going on in the school here. And Louise opened her folder, and she began to place on the desk. She said, this is Indian religion, this is Native American religion, and on she went. Children were supposed to make a spirit catcher and a totem pole and all sorts of things. She said, you're not keeping religion out of the school. You just want to keep Jesus out. Now, if our children are educated in the things of God, I don't have to be afraid that they're going to be confronted by someone who worships a cow. And if you put the cow and Christ in competition, we know that the Lord Jesus is going to win the day. But the enemy is so subtle and so clever, and we see it in the Disney movies. We see people who, for example, this movie Coco, that's all popular right now, a huge ingathering of money at Thanksgiving time, because people, they love to do these things with their families, and it's so cute, and it's so beautifully done, and the music is excellent, and so on. But the fact is that it's pagan. It's a thoroughly pagan view, where when people die, they go to a place where people are partying and carousing and dancing, and there's nothing about hell there, but it's not heaven either, because many of the people who are there are wicked people and do bad things. And then they talk about someone who, if you don't remember them, eventually they turn to dust and they're annihilated. And so the children watch this and we say, well, it's innocent enough, but it's promulgating false notions into the little minds of our children. Now, I'm not saying don't have your children in an environment where they're confronted by these issues, but we have to brief them and debrief them, and we have to sit down with them and say, now, let's watch this through Christian eyes. And you see what they're doing here. And help our children to think through the issues so that they're not undermined in their faith. One of our grandchildren recently was taken into the home of one of her little friends, and there was the God shelf. And afterwards, as they left, she put her arms around her little friend, and she said, of course you know, those are just pieces of wood. And so I'm not being an alarmist here, because the devil's been at it for thousands of years. And there are Christians who are raising their families in a animist culture, demon worshippers. There are Christians raising their families in Riyadh, in Bahrain, in cities that Christianity is a crime. They're raising their children in North Korea. So it's possible to raise your children in a culture that is totally averse to Christianity. But what is more dangerous are the subtle erosion that goes on when people allow the culture of the day to wash over them and not to judge it. People say, I sit down in front of the TV, I just want to relax. That's the last place you can relax. You have to be vigilant, be sober, be vigilant. Keep your eyes open. Because this is not entertainment, it's propaganda. And it's designed to undermine the faith of those who love the Lord Jesus. This is the great battle of the ages. It's been going on a long time. But we need to stand up. We don't have to be rude. We don't have to be frantic. But we just have to understand the enemy never sleeps. And we can't go to sleep either. And thank God for our children who, in the face of opposition and criticism, were willing to stand up for Jesus. And not be rude, but just be definite. This is what I believe. And, I recall very clearly one of the teachers, when we explained to her, our daughter, we're not putting her up to this. This is what she believes. And the field of education is supposed to be the place for the free exchange of ideas. Do you not want our children to express what they believe? Can everyone else express what they believe except the Christians? No. And she said, well, I know she believes it. She said, when I feel uptight, I just look at her and I have peace. Right? They see the reality. They see the life-giving power of Christianity. The mothers who loved it when our children would play with their children. There was one mother called up my wife in tears. Her Down syndrome child had never been invited to a friend's home until some of our kids invited her. That's Christianity. It's not that our children are unusual. They were Christians, and Christianity makes a difference. And so we need to be vigilant. When our children go off to school, and it doesn't matter what schooling situation they're in, they're going to face the world. Sooner or later, they're going to face the world. And the sooner we can put the good seed in, we can keep down the enemy's attempts to sow wild oats in their hearts. So, just a little word of encouragement. Keep your eyes open. Brief your children. Debrief your children. Find out what they're watching, what they're doing at school. And let the teachers know, we're on your side. We want the best for our children. But if you're going to do something that might make our children smarter but not as good, we're not interested. We don't mind our children learning about other cultures. We don't want them to participate in other cultures. We want them to be able to live as young Christians in this environment. And we believe we have the liberty in this country to do that. So, God bless you. Keep your eyes open. Don't fall asleep on the job. Don't be AWOL. Keep track of what's happening with your children and your grandchildren. And be ready to inculcate into their hearts the truth of God to protect them and preserve them from the wiles of the devil.